Hello everyone, it's Fine and Steady, and today we're going to be talking about oil returning to almost $60 per barrel, going back in the biggest rally in a while, already almost pretty much completely recovering from pre-corona levels, and of course, the big Texas freeze. So let's talk about the oil and the gas industry for a little bit. So on the screen here, we have the oil price starting from 2010. You can see that down here, all the way up to 2020. So as you can see, in the first 5 years of the decade, it was at about $100 per barrel. Then it dropped to around 60 is where it was hovering. Then we had the illness hitting. And now we're back at pretty much the same line here, around $60. So what on earth is causing this pump? Why are millions of people in Texas without any type of electricity right now? Let's find out. You might think that this is a picture from some place like Switzerland or something great like that, but this is a picture from Texas. So it's the third day that they're in freezing temperatures, like literally freezing temperatures, and Texas is having so many power outages that there's still millions without power. Because of these super low temperatures, the energy demand is absolutely insane. Everybody wants heating, the pipes are freezing, the power stations are not made to withstand this type of temperature. So one, the actual power draw is going through the roof. Two, the actual grid infrastructure is not made to handle this type of weather. So the result of that is that now there's many people who don't even have clean water at the moment, or any water at all for that matter. And people are resorting to literally burning wood in Texas. Like, you would never imagine that. Texas is pretty much on the equator. Like, it's the southernmost part of the US, right? That's like having snow in Florida. It's absolutely crazy what's happening. So if we look here at a map of the United States, you see here the blue zone is basically freezing temperatures and below freezing temperatures. And the green zone is like just over freezing. So as you can see, even in Texas, we have the huge cold spot right here causing tons of snow. And currently 71% of the entire United States is covered in snow. 71%. That's absolutely crazy. So the energy demand in all of the United States is skyrocketing, and there's actually numbers to back that claim up. So analysts had predicted that during this time, you would need to spend about 2.4 million barrels per week, when the current usage is actually 5.8 million barrels for the week, right? So what this means is that all the oil and gas companies had set aside a certain amount of barrels that they predicted to be used, right? Because they like to only actually drill out as much as is going to be used in the short term. So what this means is that the inventories are actually not enough to sustain the energy usage that's going on right now. And what does that mean? It means that these companies need to pull more up out of the ground, and it means that because of that, the supply is actually going to go up as they try to catch up to the demand. Right now, there is a supply issue, and whenever there's a supply issue, it means that prices are going to go up. So how much have the prices gone up? Well, I see here an article from just today that the price is now above $65, which is absolutely crazy. And actually in Texas, the planes have been grounded for quite a few days now, which means that the entire state is pretty much on a forced lockdown because there's just no infrastructure. Like, planes aren't flying. Probably the traffic lights aren't working. So I guess most people are literally just stuck at home. And so this whole rally right here is pretty much driven by a supply issue, right? So over here, what happened was that there was a huge oversupply as everything shut down. Nobody was buying oil. The companies hadn't had time to adjust, so they were still pulling way more out of the ground than was needed. And they were literally running out of space to store the excess oil. People were literally renting tanker ships, filling them up just to store the oil because there's nowhere else to put it. In order to do certain drilling and oil extraction operations, the price needs to be above a certain level, right? So fracking only becomes profitable at around like, I don't know exactly, I'm going to make up the numbers up. Fracking only becomes profitable like after $40, which means that if the price goes below, you're better off just not doing those kinds of fracking operations. And then I think in the Middle East, they've got one of the lowest price costs to make oil, right? So they've actually got like I reckon they're profitable even around 30, 35 is what I pretty much remember. But other countries really, they need to maintain prices above 50 in order to maintain a profitable industry. So what does this mean for the future of oil? Well, we've got companies like Shell, Total, and Chevron, and let's have a look at what those stocks are doing lately. If we look now over a 5-year period at Shell, for example, we see still that Shell before was around 60 US dollars, and now they're making a comeback. They're back around 40, but like even though the price has recovered, because they took such a big hit for such a long time at such the depressed prices, that it's going to take a while until they're actually able to get back to the strength where they were before. And if you look at the other companies, right, let me just switch between Total and Shell, and you can see that it's pretty much exactly the same story. And if I now go to Chevron, you see as well that their stock matches pretty much exactly the same story as the other two, right? You can see that the lines there are pretty much moving in the same way. So what does this mean for the industry overall? Well, currently, actually, there's a lot of question marks about this industry because all the governments are moving towards green energy. That's the focus of policies. So like all the political willpower is behind that, and they're moving more and more away from oil and gas companies. So actually, I think the ones that are going to perform best over the next 10 years are probably the ones that are trying to diversify as much away from oil as they can, as Shell is doing. So if I had to pick a winner out of these three, I would probably go with Shell just because they're really making an effort to divest away from the oil and gas industry and start to come up with renewable energy sources, right? But that's a roadmap that's going to take them like 10, 20 years until they reach what they want. So this is a very long-term play. I think that for now, these types of companies are still ones to kind of overlook for the moment, because what you want to do is you always want to go for the industries that are growing and not the industries which are kind of stagnant or even shrinking lately. Guys, if you're like me and you find it difficult to believe that the energy grid of an entire state would not be weatherproofed, well, let me show you exactly why that happened and why Texas is actually having a lot of backlash now from the rest of the nation. What you see here is a diagram of the United States electric power grid. So you see Texas over here all by itself. They maintain their own grid, and then you have the entire West and east of the US, both in their own halves. So Texas has managed to retain its complete energy independence, and that's sometimes a great thing, but in this case a bad thing, because it means that they did not have to follow the same regulations as all the other places, and they could say, well, you know, it's usually warm here, so why would we bother investing and making our stuff resistant to such cold weather? And boom, now they've got a huge crisis going on. So guys, as always, I hope you got smarter. Take care. Please smash up the like button. It really helps me out. If I could get even one like from one of you guys watching so that we end up at like, I don't know, let's aim for 5 likes this time. It would really help. It helps the algorithm know that this is a video worth pushing out, that you guys are enjoying the content. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.